What's awesome about working in the game industry is working on video games. I mean, I think it's just a very fun and collaborative environment. I get to work with people who are very passionate about making video games, and we all have the common interest of loving to play video games, and then also enjoying making them together. So yeah, I think it's just because we all get to kind of geek out together and talk about games when we're sitting there and making them ourselves, and it's just a very fun environment. There are quite a few different disciplines of software engineering that go into making a game. For example, I'm a gameplay features engineer. So I write code for the gameplay features specifically on the game client, which is the actual program that's running on your phone or on your computer. That's a lot of UI code, user interface, like all the menus, buttons you press, making sure that they actually do things. A typical day to me looks like I will have a set of tasks or bugs to be working on over the course of a 2-week sprint, which is like a 2-week set of time that we kind of determine all the work we're going to do in those 2 weeks. So I'll kind of just have a list of tasks and bugs and just kind of go through them best I can each day. And that might be working on a new feature for a game, or if there's some horrible bug that's breaking the game, going and jumping on that to fix it ASAP, or just going and fixing little minor things that aren't really a big deal. I think a lot of people, at least I've had conversations like this before, where people assume that because I'm working on video games that it's a lot of just kind of goofing off and sitting inside of an office and playing video games together, which we do sometimes. But it's a pretty difficult job. It's a lot of hard work, and we don't necessarily we don't just sit around playing video games all day. It's a lot of actually making video games, testing video games, but not necessarily testing them for fun. Like actually having to sit down and try to break the thing that we're making to find all the flaws before our players find them. The best thing about programming is just the challenge of it. I mean, I kind of touched on this earlier, but I think it's just a very fun, it provides just a fun puzzle to figure out. It's challenging, but it's rewarding. And there's really so many things you can do with it too. I mean, obviously I work on video games, but that's obviously just such a small piece of what you really could work on if you are a programmer. I mean, you could work at Tesla on cars, or any number of things really. So it's just very versatile. I mean, you can get a job doing kind of anything as a programmer. And I think in any case, anywhere you do that, you're going to have the similar challenges that you would have working on video games. It's really satisfying knowing not necessarily just what content is in the game and designing that content, but I think it's really satisfying knowing exactly how the game actually works and having a hand in making the actual logic that's driving the game versus the content. I think the most stressful things about the job are timelines, deadlines, bug fixing, especially with a live product. Sometimes some terrible bug makes it to the live version of the game, and maybe sometimes it's my fault or whoever's fault, and then we have to jump on it and fix it as soon as possible. So that's stressful. And then just if you're working on a new feature and we have to ship it by some date. I mean, things come up, like, maybe it was actually harder to make the feature than you're expecting to make, because programming's hard, or maybe the game designer halfway through making the feature is like, oh, actually we should change all these things and make it work this other way instead. And you're like, oh crap, okay. So then you have to go and make changes, talk to the whole team, and make sure everyone's on the same page about making changes and that it fits with the timeline. So yeah, anyway, I think the most stressful parts are definitely at least the fixing bugs, because that can just be very you have to do that as soon as possible, and also just making sure that you finish everything within timelines. When applying for a job, it's important to know, well, really just to be comfortable with at least one game engine, I think, whether that's Unity or Unreal. I mean, kind of pick one or the other. Because, I mean, a lot of games are made with custom game engines, like at Blizzard, for example. Pretty much every game, like Diablo, WoW, StarCraft, they're all made with a custom Blizzard engine. So it's not like you can really study up and learn how those work before you actually get a job there. But just knowing concepts from either Unreal or Unity is really useful. And of course, my game that I work on is made in Unity. So if you know Unity, then you'd have a higher chance of getting a job on games that are made in Unity. As for programming languages that are good to know, Unity is all C#. And a lot of tools are also written in C#. So like if you wanted to be a tools engineer to help maybe make people's lives easier, even on the WoW team or on the Diablo team or something. I mean, a lot of tools I think are just across the industry are written in C#. But a lot of games, like World of Warcraft, pretty much every Blizzard game that's not made in Unity is written in C++. So really C++ is kind of the safest language to learn just because it's so widely used still. But yeah, C# for Unity, C++ for Unreal, and a lot of custom engines. I think it's very competitive to get an entry-level position in the gaming industry, especially as a programmer. Yeah, I mean, I think what I've noticed just looking at job postings is a lot of companies aren't hiring as many entry-level positions and are hiring more mid to senior level positions because, I mean, you do have to spend more time to train entry-level people, which is, that is a cost. But I think, anyway, because it's harder to get those positions, a way to make yourself stand out, I think, is really to just work on a portfolio and just have a really good, they don't even have to be good. You can just make a lot of games, like whether they're good or not, really, just showing that you can have a vision for something and execute that vision in whatever way, whether that's with Unreal or Unity. Just having some portfolio of a ton of random games you've made, maybe by yourself or with a club or something, with a group of people, just to show that you have actually done it and you can do it. Because I think a lot of people who apply to those jobs out of college, they might not necessarily have ever made a game, right? They might just apply and think, oh, I've taken some computer science classes, but I haven't made a game. It's different. And I think a lot of tech companies that does work. Like I know some people who got jobs at Apple and Google and Amazon and all that right out of college, with basically just their computer science degree. And I think that works there. But I think with games, it's really important to actually have a portfolio to show that you can make things. For me, I think what really helped me was just doing the game development club at school, because I got to not only kind of learn how to make games, but also actually learn how to make games in a group environment, which is more similar to actually what it's like when you are doing it professionally. Because, professionally, you're never just going to be sitting there making a game by yourself. It's going to be collaborating with people, kind of working together and making something together. So yeah, I'd say, especially from the perspective of a college student or someone younger, I think a really good way to get into the industry, like shortly after college, would be to do some sort of game development club or something like that. Just from my personal experience. If you have the passion and dedication to really be a programmer, especially working on games, like, I mean, I think anyone can do it. I think it's just having the right mindset and the being committed to learning things and applying what you learn. Work on things that you're interested in, because I think that helps. If you're, and just make a lot of little side projects. I mean, it doesn't even have to be games. It can be anything that just sounds fun to make. Like, I know people who made things to analyze, like, stocks and stuff. I don't know. People make all sorts of things, and as long as it's fun, I think that's what makes learning programming easier, if it's kind of fun. I mean, sure, there's some things that are not fun, and you have to learn those things too, but when you're working on the fun things, that actually makes it more interesting, and you actually kind of retain the knowledge more, I think. That's my experience.